Our guest is Bruce McClary, Senior Vice President of Membership and Communications for the National Foundation for Credit Counseling. Welcome, Bruce.
Hi, David. Thanks for having me on the show.
Good to have you. So how can people get out of debt?
There are a lot of different ways you can get out of debt. How you do it depends on your circumstances. And I think there's the self-help way, and there's the reaching out and getting help from trusted sources. For self-help, you can restructure your debt a little bit to make it more affordable to repay, lower the interest rates, lower the payments, consolidate. You can power pay your debt if you want. There's the popular snowball or avalanche method that are touted, prioritizing either low payments or low interest rate as the debts that you tackle first. Or you can reach out and get help, like nonprofit credit counseling agencies that are part of the NFCC. At nfcc.org, they can offer guidance and structured repayment programs to make it more affordable to get out of debt, especially high interest rate credit card debt.
Yeah, I love that. That's spot on. Let's unpack that a little bit, because there's a lot there. So number one, I'm going to add, before we do anything else with debt, is to establish an emergency fund, because a lot of people get into trouble with debt. And I understand totally how this happens and can relate to it. You know, when I started my own business, I understand debt and what it takes sometimes to get something working. And we could talk about that maybe for another interview. But an emergency fund is critical before you start paying down the debt, so that if something comes up while you're paying down the debt, you don't put yourself back where you were. And so the pay down process, you know, Bruce, a lot of people get tripped up in that. They go, well, I'm not sure which way to do it. And as you alluded to, you know, there's more than one way to do it. You've got multiple strategies. There's nothing wrong with taking the one that best fits your situation and using it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I always tell people, look at the method that's going to be most motivating for success and then fits your budget. And whatever lane that happens to be, if it works for you and it gets you out of debt, fantastic, go for it.
Yep. That's great, because it doesn't matter how good the strategy is. You have to be willing to pick your foot up and step forward. So real quick, we can talk about tackling, of course, from a financial planner standpoint. You know, we're going to love the idea of working off and paying down the highest interest debt that's non-deductible. So first we have to make minimum payments on everything. We can't get in arrears. We don't want to trigger penalties or trigger a higher interest rate, right? So we work on the highest interest rate debt. And what do we mean by that? We pay minimum on everything. And then the one debt that is the highest in terms of interest rate, we put any extra money toward it until it's gone. Then we take that debt's payment that we're making, that minimum payment, apply that to the next highest interest rate, and then still put the extra money we had before toward that loan, and then work our way down from, you know, kind of the top of the mountain, from the highest interest rate to the lowest interest rate, and accumulating the extra payments as we go until all of it's paid off. I love that.
That's a great plan. And that's what we recommend the most in terms of the self-help method. If you're going to structure a way to repay your high interest rate debt, your credit card debt, that's the way to go. Tackle the most expensive stuff first, and then build up and add that extra money to the other payments for the other accounts as you pay things off. So that's the best way to save the most over time.
The other methods can work where you pick on either the largest debt payment or the largest debt balance, or the lowest debt payment or the lowest balance, to start building some momentum. Dare I say, it doesn't have to make the best financial sense as long as you do it. And I think that's where people get a little tripped up. They've got something in particular that just bugs them, and they're like, I gotta pay that off. Maybe it's a gym membership or something like that, or it's an elliptical machine that sits in the corner of the room and they never use it, and they're like, I'm paying that off because it's driving me crazy. So let's talk about one other aspect of this, Bruce, and that is maybe looking at other funds to pay off debt. One of the things that people sometimes get a little excited about, especially when, you know, the stocks and the market is doing well, is wanting to invest, but they've got debt. So what do you say to that?
Yeah, well, you know, it's always a conundrum for people if they're thinking about things in terms of planning for their future. Do I save or do I pay off debt? I mean, that's really the question that we get asked a lot. We get asked a whole lot. I am a have your cake and eat it too kind of person. So there's always room to invest. You should never stop saving. You should never stop investing. The minute you stop progress in those areas, you're hurting your future self. So that's the one thing that I want to get across there. So you can carve out a little extra to pay down your debt. If you pay anything more than the minimum payment, you're making better progress than you would have otherwise made.
Good. And I like the idea of the habit of staying in a saving and an investment method or process, making that habitual. I'll answer slightly differently or add to that. And what I would say is that let's keep that habit. But if you've got high interest rate debt, you've got credit card debt that's in the 15, 20% range, there is no investment out there that's going to give you a guaranteed return of 15 to 20% on your money. And that is what you're getting in effect by paying off debt with that high of an interest rate. So I would actually forego extra money toward investing and taking any extra funds and putting that toward that debt and try to knock it down.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because if you do have that high double-digit interest rate on the debt that you're carrying, that's another fire truck red alert emergency that you need to pay attention to. It's not going to get any better, and making minimum payments, you're not going to get anywhere. So you need to make faster progress. You need to look at ways you can do that, and you may have to forego some investing in order to apply your available funds to those debts.
Yeah, and I'm saying that's okay. I think that's a worthy approach. All right, very good. More information over at nfcc.org on how they can help with counseling. Bruce McClary, always great to have you. Thank you, sir.
It's great to be here. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
If you would like more information about the topics and our guests featured in this series, please visit our website at PlanStrongerTV.com. Also, if you have a question you would like David to answer, please send it to questions@PlanStrongerTV.com.